Hey, Chandler Bolt here, and joining me today is my good friend, Pedro Adao. Pedro is the founder of 100X Academy and the creator of the Crush It with Challenges program. He helps people grow their businesses and kind of more recently, which is what we're going to be talking about today, sell more books through challenges. Pedro is a good friend of mine. We were on a men's prayer group for a while. I spoke at his 100X event. Gosh, we've done some fun things together. I love this guy. Pedro, welcome. Great to have you here.
Buddy, it's so fun to be here. I can't wait to chop it up with you. And let's get into it, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about today, guys. We're going to be talking about how to use challenges to sell more books and to grow your business. All right, this is going to be a little bit of a master class. I think you're really going to enjoy it. So, Pedro, first off, and obviously, actually, I forgot to mention this as part of the intro. I did a challenge last year as part of our Author Advantage Live, inspired by you, learned a bunch of stuff. We walked through the whole process, and it was one of the most successful things that we did to sell tickets for Author Advantage Live for our live event. And so I believe in it. I've seen it work firsthand. And so I know for folks, whether you're looking to use this to grow your business or to sell more books, you can do it in a way that's going to work for you. So first off, Pedro, what is a challenge?
Yeah.
For people who don't know.
So a challenge, the way that we have kind of reinvented them and have been running them since May of 2018, Chandler and I have now run 47 highly profitable challenges in a row since May of 2018, if you can believe that. And so what a challenge is basically it's a time-based, in our case, virtual live training experience where there's a focused outcome. There is a hook, a big idea. There's a promised deliverable or payoff that person is expecting to receive by being in the challenge. Has a start date, has an end date. You're probably, if you've been, at all online and in your news feed, you're probably seeing these 5-day challenges promoted and advertised. That's because of me, right? So our primary model is a 5-day challenge. You can do a 7-day challenge. We've done 30-day challenges, and if you were, and maybe in the health and fitness nutrition space, maybe even a 90-day challenge might make sense. If you've got some weight loss objectives or some fitness objectives, it might take longer to get those results. But if you're primarily a coach, consultant, course creator, and you want to move a ton of books, I think a 5 or 7-day challenge will be your sweet spot. And we deliver our challenges as live training, primarily inside of a private closed Facebook group. So the idea is either you run ads, send emails, promote the challenge. In a perfect world, you'd have a basic challenge funnel that is page one. They opt into your challenge. It could be a free or paid challenge. Since Corona hit last year, we have been doing nothing but free challenges, and they've been incredibly successful. So your challenge can be a free challenge. They opt in on your first page, and then on page 2 is really where I think you could put an upsell. And that's where, as an author, I absolutely think the best upsell on page 2 is your book. Get your book and maybe like a backstage or VIP pass. So we do a ton of those at $95, and then you have your thank you page. And so again, the big thing is, and then they're all coming into your Facebook group. You're going live in your Facebook group every day, sharing some cool piece of content. You're giving them an assignment. Big key. Challenges. People are coming to take action and do some work, not just to be passive learners. So you want to incorporate daily assignments, daily homework that they get to go do that is simple, easy, bite-sized steps that gets them in action. And then typically on day 4 of the challenge, towards the end, you make your offer. You invite them into a coaching program, a membership site. You invite them to your live event. Sell them a ticket to that. You can pretty much sell anything you want on the back of these challenges. We've had a lot of success selling, at the $995 price point, like thousands and thousands and thousands of customers. We've also done really well, thousands of customers at a $2,000 price point, selling our core signature training programs. If you're a high ticket coach consultant, you can do a challenge to an application, and then fill up your calendar with calls. So you can pretty much learn anything you want, but that's the basic framework, Chandler. And then of course we
Yeah.
can get into the,
Oh, for
obviously
sure.
there's obviously a lot more science and art to this we can break down.
Yeah, and so I want to get into the how in just a little bit, and I've got a bajillion questions that I'm sure our listeners will be curious about and love to hear. But first, and you touched on this a little bit, but how about before we go into the how, the why? Why is this something that authors can do, should do, and that's going to move copies of their book?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've heard you speak, and I think I know that, you know, a big part of what you're about is helping authors actually build a business as well, not just have a book. So first and foremost, as you know, as we're making this video, um, and I don't see this changing anytime soon, just understand this: the number one way to profitably acquire customers online today is happening on the back of challenges using our challenge framework. Like, period, end of story, not debatable. We're helping people acquire customers cheaper than webinars, than lead magnets, than low tripwire offers, than just about anything else that you could try and do. So if you want to grow your business, first and foremost, you should be doing challenges. Learn our framework. I would go as far, Chandler, say that in 2021, it is irresponsible of you as a marketer and entrepreneur to not have this framework in your marketing portfolio. You don't have to be as crazy as me and just only do challenges, but this should be a tool in your tool belt. And so for selling books, I think the best way to move a ton of books is to position your book in the front end of the funnel, versus, and of course, you can always bundle your book into the back end offer if you have a 297 or 497 or 997 program. Sure, give them a book, you know, if they're, but I think the big opportunity for authors is to, if you want to drive units, move the book into the front of the challenge. And when people are most excited, they're grateful for the free challenge. And then you can do this book bundle upsell, and you can promote that upsell throughout the entire challenge. You can take your book, maybe a small little mini course, some info, bundle that thing up, do a special challenge promotion, and you can just keep that thing and sell that thing throughout the entire week. As the days goes on, you're going to be building up more social proof, more know, like, and trust factor, more like, oh my gosh, Pedro's so helpful, he's helped me so much, the least I can do is go buy his book. Like, you're going to be building
Right.
up all of that goodwill, Chandler, and that's all going to translate to a lot of book sales.
That's great. So let's get into the how a little bit, and I want to talk about our mutual friend, John Acuff. And I know
Yeah.
you just worked with him on a challenge that just wrapped up. And guys, if you're listening to this right now, it's funny. Actually, I interviewed him before this interview, but this interview is going to be, the interview with John's going to come out the week after this one with Pedro. So you'll hear him give Pedro a shout out, as well as talk about how, you know, this challenge is one of the big things he's doing to launch his new book. So Pedro, can you walk us through, like, what was the framework that you did with John Acuff, and how did that perform? And then that'll kind of give us a framework of how we can do this as authors. And then I want to go into a lot of the other how questions
Yeah.
specific to
Yeah.
business owners.
So I met John like I met you in that in our prayer group, and just love this guy. And you know, John's I think a 2-time New York best-selling author, you know, and a lot of the, you know, big publishing houses, 2-time New York Times best-selling author, has his book, and then Corona shows up. And now no live events, no book tours, none of this, all that stuff gone. So he's like, what the hell do I do now? And you know, it was a prayer request he brought to our prayer call. Is like, guys, what do I do? I'm like, well, there's a few of us on this call that know a little bit about online marketing. I said, John, let's do a challenge. He's like, really? I had to push him to do it, you know, because John's more of a quiet guy, and not, you know, and doesn't like asking for help. He just kind of a little bit more reserved that way. So I was like, John, let me help you. So he's like, okay. And so I believe I could be getting this wrong, but Chandler, you might know. I believe his book was on how to basically on how to stop overthinking, right? It was how to,
Yep.
um, so I'm like, perfect. Let's just do the 5-day, overthinking, how to end overthinking challenge. I think was the name of it. We mapped the whole thing out. He had his book agent on the call. It was in a Zoom like this. It was me, John, this lady on his team, I forget her name, and then like his main book agent guy. And we just whiteboarded the whole thing out, came up with a hook, which, I mean, think about how, I mean, Chandler, you would know, think about how much time people spend picking that book title and how important the title and tagline is, right? So guess what? I mean, if you did a good job with that one, there's your challenge name right there, right? Now we have congruency, continuity from challenge to book. Nice, even so we already had the kind of the name and the hook because that's what the book was about. And I was like, John, let's talk about this book. Like, we're going to do a 5-day challenge. What do you think are the 5 to 7 most important concepts? I know the whole book's amazing, John. I know no author ever said their book sucked, right? I know the whole book's awesome, but if someone can only read, think about it, take the 80-20 rule to your book. If someone can only read 20% of the book and to get them the most value, what would it be? So we went right to the best cream of the content. And then we built our content schedule for day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, all around that. Kind of mapped out what the content would look like. John is amazing writer, is very thorough, super detailed. This guy's, pro on, pro. So we already clearly got how to package the content. He's a great teacher, trainer. And then he already had like some exercises or like takeaway questions or suggestions, call to action kind of stuff in the book. So that became the homework.
Cool.
I did help him design like I think it was a 4-week or a 6-week live group coaching program that he sold on the back of the challenge, just to have a little bit more than just the book. This is for folks that wanted to go deeper with John, have some Q&A access, and kind of, which obviously if they're fans of yours and they love your book and love your stuff, of course I want to go deeper. So for John, that was something I don't think he had done a ton before. And literally he just texted me this morning. He shared with me his numbers. I didn't get express written consent to share his numbers. Let me just tell you, it was 6 figures plus, and he was over the moon ecstatic. And that was his very first time doing this. And, I helped him, I consulted with him, but his team built the pages, his team ran it. And he probably ran it at, who knows, 20% of what it could have been. And it was a 6-figure plus challenge, and they're over the moon excited. So I think
it's great.
I think for authors, for your listeners, and like this is going to be this is a non-negotiable. Like if you're an author and with a book that you want to get out to the world and you're not running a challenge to promote it, the question is like, why not? You just worked your ass off to write this book. Designing a challenge for your book could literally take probably a couple of hours of designing it, because think about how much work you've done
Repurpose.
It's the same content. You just work so hard to get your thoughts straight and organize the content, and like
it's the verbal expression of your written content.
That's
right?
all it is.
And so guys, I think and you're adding personality and flavor to that. So I think there's some really great takeaways for folks. So it's use the content that you already have, synthesize that, bubble up the top lessons. And like Pedro said at the top of this interview, it's a virtual live training experience with a focused outcome. And so if you did the writing well of your book, and it's a nonfiction book, obviously, you have a focused outcome of that book. And then you can bring the focus outcome as the hook for your challenge. The core content is in your book is the core content in your challenge. And just like John did, you've got maybe a 5-day or a 7-day challenge. You're leading people to purchase the book, and maybe even bundling in something else that you're maximizing your revenue from the challenge. I want to ask one more question on this, Pedro, and then shift gears a little bit, just a lot more on the how of running a challenge and using challenges to grow your business. So do you recommend for authors to do the challenge, like timing wise, before their book launch, during their book launch, after their book launch, or does it matter?
Yes. They should just do a challenge. So if you are an author who's already launched a book, do a challenge to drive more book sales, right? Make a bigger impact, grow your business, build whatever your back end business is that you wrote this nonfiction book to help you grow, then do a challenge, use the book, grow your business, right? Now, what's really cool, and I'm getting pulled in to consult on some pretty what could be some pretty spectacular book launches, is this would be an amazing way. This would be I think how I did it for John is we ran this during his pre-launch period, which is very strategic. Chandler, I'm sure you've taught on this and you know way more about than I do. What I've learned, a little bit I know, is what John told me is that if you can drive pre-sales like crazy to Amazon, then they're like, oh shoot, this book's going to be popular, and they'll start to print a lot more of those books. So when the book starts to actually ship, they got more books. The books are going out a lot faster. It helps with velocity. So,
Yes.
so
So they
they're
don't sell out, which
they
is like
don't
a kiss
sell
of death as an author. Yeah.
exactly. And again, I didn't know that because I mean, I've written 2 books, but I've never. I use my books differently so far till now. So yes, so that was a very strategic timing for John to get thousands of book sales during pre-launch. And so, but again, if you have a book, if you're in pre or during or post, just do a challenge. Absolutely do a challenge. And the way that we talk about, the way that we teach at the train, there's, this is the new model of how challenges are done. Dean Graziosi, who's a friend who heard me train on my challenge model in a mastermind, messaged me a little over a year ago. He's like, hey man, I've been doing challenges for a long time, but not like you're doing them. So would you mind consulting with me and our team? It's like, sure. So we absolutely did that and helped their team, and they crushed it. And so, Dean's been very gracious to give me credit for bringing challenges into the modern era, like just completely reimagine how challenges could operate. So this, I believe, again, I'm obviously very biased, but I also now have a lot of data from myself and elite level entrepreneurs, but also very many early stage entrepreneurs. Um, that this by far, like, just nothing creates engagement and connection and consumption, Chandler, at the levels that challenge. And if you're an author, think about it. You've spent all this work to write a book. You want people to read it. You want people to actually consume it and get the benefit from it. So I believe that this is a really tailor-made strategy for authors, because if you have the heart to take this much time to produce a book, obviously it means you care at a deep level and you want to get your message and content out in a big way.
That's great. Pedro, I want to kind of go lightning round and just walk through creating a challenge and the nuts and bolts and how you do it. So I think one of the most important things to start, and you mentioned this, and I 100% agree, is a good hook and a results focused hook. And I think it's kind of like your title, your subtitle, your cover for a book. If it's not good, it doesn't matter. Like everything else could be amazing, and if that thing's not good, it's just not going to work. It's not going to sell, right? So how do you come up with a good hook for your challenge, a results focused hook, and any tips on walking through that process?
Yeah. So here's a very simple kind of naming convention I like to give people as a kind of get your mind thinking about it. So first is, how long is the challenge, right? So how long is it? What's the big promise? What is the promised outcome, desire that you're promising to give them, or is there a problem that you're going to help them avoid? Like with John's, it was overthinking. So the promise was how to overcome overthinking, right? It was this pain they have and how to get rid of this pain. So remember, people, we're motivated either to seek pleasure or avoid pain. So there either is a desired outcome that's promised or this bad thing that we don't want to have happen. Then it's also, who is it for? So this is I don't know, Chandler, how I gotta imagine you drill this pretty hard in your program and coaching, but I'm just a huge believer in niching down. I call it micro niching, because what I call niching is like, I like to help my clients carve very deep niches. So I like to include it in the name or tagline of the challenge. Who is this challenge for? Is it for homeschool moms? Is it for 7-figure business owners? Is it for stressed out corporate executives? Is it for airline stewardesses and attendants? Is it for frustrated authors whose books aren't selling? Like, so one is the challenge free or paid? How much is it? How long is it? What's the payoff, the hook, promise, and who's it for? Those are kind of 4 good little data elements that you want to possibly sprinkle in through either your name or the tagline. And that's to kind of get the juices flowing. But again, I would look at your title for authors.
Yeah.
Look at your title, book, and your tagline. Man, I hope there's enough there to kind of create something juicy, because that's important, right? Like you said, I mean, it's if people don't like the cover and they don't like the name, there could be gold inside, but they're never going to see it,
Yes. Well, one of the things we say all the time is your title, subtitle, and cover should instantly, your prospect or potential reader should instantly understand what the book's about and whether or not it's for them. Right. And so I think that's exactly what you're saying with the challenge title as well, is people need to understand what the challenge is about and whether or not it's for them at a quick glance. And so we've done the hard work on that, Pedro. So, all right, how long is the challenge? What's the desired outcome or the promise? Who is it for? And is it free or paid? Any tips on deciding duration? I know you probably get asked this all the time, and you said 5 to 7 days is kind of like the sweet spot. Is that what you would recommend for most people?
Yeah, for most people, unless the only exception to that is if you just know that you need more time to produce the result you're promising, right? So if I was doing a 7-pound weight loss challenge, it wouldn't be I wouldn't do a 2-day challenge, right? Hey, let's lose 7 pounds today. Like, I'm not sure you can healthily lose 7 pounds in 2 days, right? So think about the promised desired outcome, and then just have the challenge be just long enough that you think you can help people, if they're taking action with you, get that outcome. One thing I hear a lot, Chandler, people say, well, gosh, Pedro, how can I guarantee? I can't guarantee that everyone's gonna get this outcome. Of course you can't. Like, you're not gonna go to their house and make them do the work. But the litmus test for me is it very plausible and likely that if someone shows up live every single day and does the assignment you give them, is it plausible and likely that they'll get the outcome? If the answer is yes, then you're good to go. I don't think you have to worry about every single guys. Nothing in the world does every single person do and get, and I mean, my goodness, right? So, but I get that question a lot, Chandler. So I wanted just to address that.
Great.
So yeah, and again, just to kind of give you the counterpoint, I've run 4 massively successful 30-day challenges. And I wouldn't recommend it.
That's a grind.
I would not recommend it. It's a grind, like meat grinder grind, like.
Yeah.
And but for what I was doing for the hook, for the promised outcome, it was necessary. And so I would say, if you're going to go on a marathon 31 day, just one, kind of know what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
And also it really needs to, it should be obvious why it's so long. No one should question, why is this 30 days? It feels like we can do it in 3 or 5. You never want that, right?
Got it. And so let's talk. So, all right. So let's say, for example, we're doing 5 to 7 day challenge. And so just being familiar with your model and what you just mentioned that John Acuff did. And so you're teaching 1 day per week, or sorry, 1 time per day in that challenge. So 5 days, you might do an hour session, same time every day.
Yeah.
Same time every
Ideally,
day, length. I've got a bunch of questions, just content specific. Do you recommend bringing external folks as interviews, doing the content yourself? Like, what are your recommendations specific to the content on how to coach that?
You certainly don't need to have any guests. When I began, no one knew who I was. Nobody was willing to be a guest. unknown and had no platform. Over time, that's changed, which is cool. But like, don't be afraid of just being you, straight to camera, talking to your readers, adding value. If you were going to bring a guest, I think you're like, I love the idea of bringing in a guest on day 5 of the challenge, because presumably you're going to sell something or make an offer on day 4. So on day 5, bring in a guest that you can interview, and they'll say amazing things about you. They'll edify you, edify your offer. In the industry, we kind of call it like a repitch. It's kind of like what it's called, where they're going to basically like just re-edify and give you a nice big third-party endorsement as to why these people should probably buy your offer and work with you. So if you can only have one guest, I would try and have them come on Friday, if they're willing to definitely endorse you. And you definitely don't want your guests dropping any of their own lead magnets or taking any attention away from you. And if they want to give freebies, if they want to share stuff, great. Make those things bonuses of your offer. You don't want any external focus and people going other places. It's your challenge. Your card is open. Your offer's out there. All roads lead to that offer.
Got it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And now, so all right, so we got kind of a content plan. We've decided on the link. We've decided on the hook, all those things. How early ahead of when the challenge starts do we start promoting?
Yeah.
And then, so kind of 2-part question. What are the top 2 to 3 ways that you recommend, like channels, to get people to actually register for the challenge?
Yeah, great. So we don't ever recommend, at most 7 to 10 days, which might sound strange, but like the fact is, like nowadays, especially, none of us know we're doing 2 weeks from now. I mean, maybe, well, that's not true. Chandler does. Chandler is the one guy, Mr. Discipline over here. Chandler knows he's doing for the next 12 years, right? Mapped out. But most of us, aren't as organized as Chandler. So like, someone's like, I don't know if I'm free 2 weeks from now. So there's a very much of a last minute spontaneous, oh, it's in a few days. Oh, it's just next week. Like this very much works because it's happening either now or in a few days. So I would say 7 to 10 days most is all you need to promote. Of course, you want to email your list if you have an email list. Paid traffic. This is where challenges shine, because a dirty little secret of the marketing industry is many of the gurus that many of you are following, up until my challenge model came on the scene, they were not profitably converting cold traffic. They were losing money on cold traffic and trying to play just the long tail game. Our challenge framework literally made running cold traffic profitable again. And so if you've tried Facebook ads and Instagram ads and you've lost money, it's time to hope again, dream again, and use this challenge model. And I'm telling you right now, if you can't convert cold traffic with this challenge, or well-designed challenge, then it ain't gonna work. That means you got the wrong hook, the wrong niche. These are a bigger problem. So for paid,
what channels on paid do you see work?
Facebook, Instagram, and that's all I did for many like, I now just got around, because I was just so busy. It's kind of shame on me, but I just now, this year, 2021, a few months ago, started running serious traffic on YouTube and Google Display Network as well. Now we have those 4 platforms, but up until now, Chandler, we scaled to 8 figures. We scaled over 10 million in revenue in our 2nd year in business on the back of Facebook and Instagram, one platform. I always would recommend mastering one platform first. That's paid. Organic, Facebook Lives, going into Facebook groups, looking for groups where people have an interest, asking friends, do interviews live, jumping on podcasts, all those things. But now Clubhouse is bonkers. Clubhouse is brought back organic reach. I mean, let's face it, organic reach has been pretty tough in Facebook and Instagram, unless you know some really ninja organic hacks, which I brought on, and I just interviewed yesterday, Chandler, like this crazy expert in organic reach, to have as a bonus in our program, because so many people just don't have the budget or have been burned by paid ads. But Clubhouse is it's kind of incredible to see the amount of people creating leads, opt-ins, and paying customers absolutely free on Clubhouse right now. So I don't know. I think now more than ever, with Clubhouse, there's plenty of organic traffic out there. Then of
Yeah.
course affiliates, partners, other authors
Yeah.
promoting each other, all that stuff still works too.
If you were to say a pie chart of most recent or most successful challenge that you've done, what does that pie chart look like between affiliates and sponsored emails, paid traffic, internal email list? I think you also mentioned, Clubhouse organic reach.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm missing one, but
Yeah.
what does that pie chart look like?
You got to have me come back and answer that, because this launch I'm doing this month will be the first time where we have Google and YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, my email list, and major affiliate partners and Clubhouse. So this will be the first time we have all five. Up until now, almost every challenge I've done before this, Chandler, has been just straight cold traffic and email. I've only done one major affiliate promotion, and that was a year ago when we launched Crush It with Challenges for the first time. So what's nice about this model is that you control your destiny. Like,
Yeah.
guys, the affiliate game can be tough. Like, not every people that have big email lists aren't just waiting around to promote people that they don't know, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Chandler, you and I both know it's hard to get people that we do know to promote for us, much less complete strangers, right?
Yeah.
So I like that I was able to control my own destiny, just open up my wallet, go run paid traffic, and convert like crazy. And that's how we scaled so fast. I mean, guys, like I said, 8 figures in 2 years. That's not normal. And it's because we had a powerful challenge model. We were great at carving niches. And when you're able to convert cold traffic, you can just grow as fast as you want. Just spend more.
What kind of metrics are you looking at on paid traffic? I mean, you're looking at probably cost per challenge registrant and then your average order value on the upsell. Like, what are you seeing in terms of basic metrics to look for? And what are the numbers that you're looking at?
Yeah. I mean, it all depends on what you're selling on the back end, right? So if you've got some people watching this that are high ticket consultants or coaches and they sell a 10K or 15K package, I mean, obviously like you can afford to spend a lot of money per lead and write the ship and be profitable. But a lot of what we have sold channel in the back was like either 995 or 2K courses. And I would say that for the most part of the time, notwithstanding the election time, and we've had a couple of wonky things happen, but I would say um, a well-designed challenge can bring in leads somewhere in the $4 to $5 range. You're doing probably pretty good. If you've got this really unique niche and you just are really owning it and you're the only one there, you may be able to get on the cheaper. If you have a very high, let's say you have a very sophisticated niche and maybe these are premium type of audience and buyers, maybe your lead cost goes up, but it shouldn't be a problem, because when you think about, what your back end offer is, you can do some quick math and be like, okay, if you have a $2,000 program, you could spend $10,000 in ads. You sell 5 units, you're going to break even.
Yeah.
And a $10,000 ad budget for a challenge, when I was getting started, I mean,
For sure.
that was a decent, that was a good
Yeah,
budget,
for
and
sure.
I mean, you're talking about getting hundreds and hundreds of people into your challenge to sell 5. So it's like,
Yeah.
um, again,
And
and
let
then
me ask you this on the budget piece, quick follow up. So, you mentioned running ads or starting promotion up to 7 to 10 days ahead of when the challenge starts. Then you got maybe a 5 to 7 day challenge. How do you maximize that window? I know you sometimes do encores and things like that, but how do you maximize that window to where I feel like when we were doing our challenge, it was like, oh man, it feels like a long time, but also a short amount of time all at the same time, where it's like, like if we're ramping ad spend and we're getting up to $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a day, we want to ramp that pretty quickly. It can feel like a really narrow window with kind of a short whatever, opportunity for like improvement and stuff like that. So it could feel like a short window. How do you navigate that short window and maximizing your registrants in a short window of time?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And we've had to really just get better at figuring out the traffic piece, because Facebook, these ad platforms really want longer campaigns. They want campaigns to season and let the algorithm work and let it get smarter and smarter. So what we've done is kind of the exact opposite of what the algorithm wants. We're coming in hot, heavy, quick, fast, hitting it hard, bam. And which means that it's a, you really want to have a good hook, great niche. Like you just, because we are basically asking Facebook to do things for us that it really wants more time to do. And yet here we are standing, thriving, and almost every major entrepreneur and early entrepreneur is using our framework now. Many of the people that we've worked with, once they do their first challenge, they're hooked. I mean, John's like, I'm gonna do one of these every month. I'm like, that's it. You got the bug. Like, once you do one, my good friend Roland Frazier, we mapped out one challenge for him, and he's done 11 now. He's done one every single month except for 1 month. And this is their entire business is built on the back of challenges. So I think just you'll get better at it, but it does work. It can work. And yes, it's a little bit counter to what the platform wants, but it can still be very, very effective and profitable.
Cool. Hey, I got a couple final questions for you, and then we'll wrap up. So, questions about funnel flow and maximizing. I mean, this is one of the key metrics, right? Revenue per attendee or revenue per challenge registrant, and then also kind of your attendee to purchase conversion rate. So you talked about when people first opt in, you've got they opt in, and then on the thank you page, there's an upsell with bonuses and maybe an all access pass, like recordings of the event, maybe also a copy of your book if you're an author or some sort of thing there. So, and then you have the thank you page where they're getting into the Facebook group. How else do you navigate like that? And are you making two offers? Is there an all access pass offer throughout and then a main offer at the end? Or what are you doing to maximize kind of your revenue per attendee?
Yeah. So with the backstage pass or the VIP offer, we will leave that open through the first maybe couple days of the challenge, but I typically want that offer off the table by day 2. Because on day 3, I don't want any offer. I want no selling, no calls to action, just a day to breathe. And then on day 4, you're going to open up the cart with your actual main back end offer. So you never want to have, in my opinion, 2 offers at the same time. That's just a bad idea. So, and another idea for your VIP backstage, put a limiter on it. Hey, first 100 people, first 30 people, put a limiter on it, make it scarce, make it urgent. And that way you can have a nice group that you feel comfortable curating. And it's like, oh man, that's sold out. VIP sold out. Nothing better to show your audience that your stuff sells out. Okay. As far as like cost per registrant, cost per lead, we definitely track, because Facebook will tell us like what we spent per lead. And then just, it's very hard to know, Chandler, like cost per attendant, because you can see how many folks are in your Facebook group, but that doesn't mean that many people are even engaging in the challenge. So here's some metrics that I look at. What's my cost per lead? And what's my total ad spend? And then I'm looking at how much did I make? What was the cart, right? How many people got into my Facebook group is a maybe interim metric. I'm looking at how many people are watching me live. And a good rule of thumb in a free challenge, if you can get 10% of the challenge of the Facebook group watching you live, you're doing good. So if your Facebook group has 1,000 people, you should expect at least 100 people to be on there live watching you. If it's a lot less than 100, something is wrong. Your targeting was off. You got the wrong people, or you're going live at 2 a.m. and everyone's asleep, right? Which I've never done because I pass out at 8 o'clock. But for me, it's really how much did I spend, how much did I make, and I'm looking on a return on my ad spend multiple, you know, 7x, 8x, 12x, 15x, 20x. I mean, and so that's really kind of the goal. That's really the goal. And as you scale it, when you start to scale it, then obviously those numbers come down a little bit. I think right now for some of our biggest challenges, they've been around, 3 to 5 return on investment, which is a lot of money when you're spending $300,000 on the challenge. 4x, 5x on 300,000 is still a 7-figure payday.
For sure. Awesome. Hey, Pedro, 2 final questions. Knowing what you know now, what would you say to the Pedro of a bajillion challenges ago? So the Pedro before he did his first challenge, and all the other Pedros out there who are watching this, listening to this, thinking about doing their first challenge, what would your parting advice be for them?
I mean, I would literally, I had no idea that this was going to happen, Chandler. Like, I was a financial planner living in obscurity, running a financial services brick and mortar business. I wasn't an online marketer, trainer, influencer, coach. I literally used to help people all day with their retirement accounts. I did one free masterclass challenge in May of 2019, teaching faith-based entrepreneurs how to actually get rid of some mental, get over mental blocks, religious hangups, teach them how to do faith-based, high integrity marketing, and use and how to do stuff online. And without even trying to, we launched the 100x movement, which you talked about earlier. And my life has never been the same. And then growing that business with those challenges, then I became a challenge guy and then launched a second business. And now, like, I am living, I don't even believe my life sometimes. Like, I don't believe my life sometimes. If I told you the 2 phone calls I was on before this, you'd be like, are you serious? Like, and let's back up the truck 7-8 years ago. When my real estate investment company failed, I was broke as a joke, $3 million in debt, deeply depressed, praying to God to not wake up because I thought I was so worthless and such a drag on my family and society that that planet Earth would be better without me. So 7-8 years ago, I'm praying not to live anymore. Then, by the grace of God and just kind of getting back on my feet now, 3 years ago, I'm doing well as a brick and mortar financial professional. I do my first challenge, not knowing it would change my entire life and my kids' lives, and like generational wealth is starting to accumulate, and the impact. I mean, we're reaching hundreds of thousands of people. I'm getting to work with people that like are heroes of mine, both in the spiritual community and also in the marketplace. Working with Dean, Tony Robbins, some of these people. Are you kidding me? And so I would just say that, like, this sounds so cliche, Chandler, but like, you have no idea what's on the other side of your yes to running challenges and mastering this framework. Like, and I am just living proof of this. And I have hundreds of our students, Chandler, have been able to have the same results. And it's just incredibly humbling, and just like, it's wild. Like, it's unbelievable, but it happened to me. So of course I have to believe it. But if someone else told me this, I'd be like, you're lying, like, prove it.
Yeah.
And I'm not lying, and I can prove it. But it's a miracle. It's a modern day miracle, because this doesn't happen. Maybe in the tech land, startups, people launch apps and they go viral. This was just from ground up, so anyhow.
That's awesome. Pedro, this has been amazing, man. Guys, if you want to check out Pedro's program, his Crush It with Challenges program, go to self-publishingschool.com/challenge. That's self-publishingschool.com/challenge. It'll also be in the show notes here. Pedro, as kind of the final thing, what is the Crush It with Challenges program? Who's a fit, and who should check it out? And how do they check it out?
Crush It with Challenges is our signature program, where literally we break down this entire model. As you can see, Chandler, There's a lot of art and science here. There's some very important nuances. Like I gave you guys the best I could in the time that we had, and yet there's obviously nuances and there's important distinctions, and we take all those through. We go through the whole process of designing your challenge, but also then showing you how to run your challenge, and then how to scale your challenge and how to fill it up. So we break down those three kind of main components in great detail, lots of examples, templates, checklist. My 7-figure challenge funnel templates are included, a bunch of amazing bonuses. This is the signature program. There's nothing like in the market. Like this is the program on the exact challenge framework that you see taking over the internet today. And of course, I couldn't recommend it enough. And we just have had hundreds and hundreds of people make their first dollar online, Chandler, break 6 figures for the first time, break 7 for the first time, and we've been able to go to 8 figures. So it's really special.
That's awesome. Guys, if you want to check it out, go to self-publishingschool.com/challenge, and you can join the program. Like I said, I believe in challenges so much. This was the biggest needle mover for us in moving and selling tickets for our virtual live event, Author Advantage Live Virtual last year. And we're going to be running another one this year using the Crush It with Challenges program and curriculum. And so I believe in it so much that we're doing it. So if you want to check it out, go to self-publishingschool.com/challenge and check it out. Pedro, thank you so much.
Bro, my pleasure, dude. This is fun. Let's do it again.
Yes, sir. Great to have you.
Same.